I do okay. I'm a regular meat and potatoes type of guy, you know what I mean?
If you were to time travel back 20 years ago to 2001 and told everyone involved in the very first Fast and Furious movie, hey, this movie's going to be one of the biggest franchises in movie history. There's going to be tons of sequels and spin-offs, and you won't really be street racers anymore, you'll be superheroes. Oh, and one more thing, there's a good chance you'll end up in space. They would have been convinced you were sniffing glue. But that's exactly what happened, and more. It's hard to believe that this medium-sized, basically B-movie about drag racing from the beginning of the 21st century would create an entire universe of its own. But since its inception, there have been 9 more movies in the Fast and Furious canon, all crazier than the next. Let's go down the list of all 10. 2001's The Fast and the Furious, 2003's Too Fast, Too Furious, 2006's The Fast and the Furious Tokyo Drift, 2009's Fast and Furious, 2011's Fast 5, 2013's Fast and Furious 6, 2015's Furious 7, 2017's The Fate of the Furious, 2019's Hobbs and Shaw, and 2021's soon-to-be-released F9. That's not to mention the untitled 10th and 11th sequels being put together, as well as another Hobbs and Shaw sequel and an upcoming all-female Fast and Furious spin-off. And just to put things in perspective of how successful this franchise has become, in 2001, the first installment made $206 million worldwide. 16 years later, The Fate of the Furious would make over $1 billion worldwide. All in, this franchise about cars that's really not about cars anymore has earned a whopping $6 billion.
Defying laws, logic, and even physics, the Fast and Furious franchise has also defied expectations, because no one saw this coming. No one could have guessed that a movie about street racing with no major stars would birth an entire franchise embraced by the world. So how did that happen? How did a Cops with Cars movie transform into a movie about a gang of essentially superheroes who basically saved the world essentially multiple times? How did the Fast and the Furious franchise change from drag racing movie to action movie to now superhero movie without the public even blinking or thinking, huh, that's weird? Let's find out.
The origin story of the Fast and Furious franchise started in, of all places, a magazine article. Remember magazines? The May 1998 issue of Vibe magazine featured an article titled Racer X that chronicled illegal street racing in Queens, New York. Producers optioned the article for a movie adaptation that became the original The Fast and the Furious. Basically a reimagining of the classic 90s action surfer movie Point Break, the first movie in the franchise could have looked completely different, as Vin Diesel and the late Paul Walker weren't even the first choices to star in the film. Mark Wahlberg, Christian Bale, and even Eminem were all considered for the part of Brian before Walker was cast. And as for the character of Dom, at one point studios were trying to get Colin Farrell for the role, but when talks stalled, they offered it to Timothy Olyphant, who turned it down, with the part eventually going to Vin. The Fast and the Furious was a bona fide hit, so Hollywood does what Hollywood does, makes more of the same. Though the cast would change up a bit, Vin's not in the second and only has a cameo in the third, Walker is in the second but not at all in the third, the focus for the next installments of the franchise, Too Fast, Too Furious, The Fast and the Furious Tokyo Drift, and Fast and Furious, would still be primarily street racing. 'Cause if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? Wrong.
For the once Fast 5 proved successful and once audiences were on board with it, not all having to do with car culture, all bets were off when it came to where the franchise could go. It no longer became the grounded story of small-time boosts and illegal street racing. It was now all about epic stakes and ridiculous realities that didn't make sense and honestly didn't have to. It's almost as if the producers of the franchise said, it doesn't matter where we take Dom and the gang, as long as it's bigger and crazier than the last movie, we good.
And that's exactly what happened. Now fully moved away from street racing and firmly entrenched as an action movie, the Fast and Furious franchise went ahead and turned everyone into superheroes. That's not an exaggeration. The Fast and Furious characters, while not on the level of an MCU or a DCEU, definitively display characteristics of having superhero powers. Check this tiny sampling out. In Fast 5, Dom snaps a pair of handcuffs in half. No biggie. In Fast and Furious 6, Letty jumps out of an ascending airplane into a moving car. In the same scene, Dom walks away from a plane crash. A friggin' plane crash. In The Fate of the Furious, Hobbs, aka Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, tears a concrete table out of his prison wall and uses it for bicep curls. You know, like humans do. And in Hobbs and Shaw, the villain, played by Idris Elba, is literally a genetically enhanced superhuman. Keep in mind, all of the characters in the franchise are technically just human and all started out as illegal street racers. And it's not just about the characters themselves and the things they can do. Like superhero movies, the Fast and Furious characters exist within a superhero universe where if you accept the core premise, street racers who became superheroes, then you'll accept anything in that world as true. So if we can believe that two people can slam into each other in a high-speed, head-on collision and then get out and have a fight with gigantic wrenches, aka Fast and Furious 7, then we as the audience will accept a whole hell of a lot more. That's how superhero movies work, and that's now how Fast and Furious movies work. So we'll buy a plot that involves a super software called God's Eye that can tap into any surveillance system in the world, something that would be so dangerous in the wrong hands that a secret government agency has to recruit a team of indestructible heroes, you know, a street racing gang, to recover it. And we'll buy that the crew had to bring down a supervillain cyber terrorist named Cypher by driving cars so hard that it prevented a global thermonuclear war. And we'll even buy that Letty, aka Michelle Rodriguez, is murdered while working undercover to bring down an international drug dealer, but in the next movie, however, it's revealed that she's actually still alive, but suffering from amnesia that has robbed her of her memory of Dom, including their secret marriage. But after driving a car off a ramp created by a collapsing parking garage and into the helicopter of a mercenary warlord, Dom dies, but the shock of seeing his body in a pile of rubble gives Letty her memories back, and then she wills him back to life. Does that even make sense? No. Are we still here for it? Hell yes. The Fast and Furious franchise has come a pretty long way from a movie where their main concern is getting their hands on nitrous oxide so they can do a better job of stealing DVD players. It's now an ongoing sequential adventure story defined by the same rules as any superhero story.
Even the man himself, Vin Diesel, acknowledges that they are now superheroes, saying, quote, "Do I think that the characters of Fast and Furious have become somewhat of superheroes? Yes, I think it's one of those gradual things. And now the world kind of looks at our Fast and Furious characters like proletariat heroes. And I think what's enjoyable for the audience is that they feel more familiar. They're not in tights and capes and they don't have lasers coming out of their eyes. They're familiar characters. And they become these proletariat heroes with great confidence and great ability. And we go along with them. And if Vin Diesel says it, you know it's gotta be true.